I'm going to do something no one has done before. I'm going to say something positive about Vanguard zombies. So we all know about the disastrous launch of Vanguard, the spawn of many a meme.
Can I go in here? No.
And make no mistake, the criticism of this game is not unwarranted in the slightest. Duran Fong was a complete joke upon release, not having any of the substantial content that a zombies experience should have.
Where's the camo? There is no camo. It's gone. All it does is have a little red muzzle flare and a slightly pew-pew noise.
Even Modern Warfare zombies, being the big departure it is from the core mode, still had wall buys, pack camos, and an original wonder weapon, not to mention actual cutscenes and actually things to do. Vanguard quite possibly had the most embarrassing launch for any zombies mode. But what about now? COD in recent years has tried so hard to follow in Fortnite's footsteps in becoming a live service game, which in reality is just an excuse for the devs to release a half-baked product and slowly patch the game into a more finished state. I'm not defending this practice whatsoever because it's a massive plague that's infected so many different games as of late. Let's, for one moment though, put that aside. How does Vanguard Zombies look and play now as opposed to launch? Well, in the beginning we only had Duran Fong, a more streamlined yet simplified version of Outbreak. Another take on the objective-focused zombie mode. The amount of objectives Outbreak had at its ending compared to Vanguard's beginning isn't really a comparison at all. There were only 4 objectives when the game launched, which was embarrassing to say the least.
So I'm gonna be 100% honest with you right now. I was right. This makes Cold War look like a masterpiece. Our expectations were low for you, but holy f***.
There was an update around December which added another objective, Void.
With the new Season 1 Reloaded update, Treyarch added a new objective to the game called Void, which technically adds round-based zombies to Vanguard Zombies.
Which, I kid you not, was the exact same as Blitz, where you just stay in one place and hold out against the zombies.
Okay, yeah, this thing kinda sucks.
Yeah, this is a fucking cakewalk. The only difference is that you can choose to leave one when you want, and the other one is on a timer. Needless to say, Duran Fong will be remembered as the most lackluster, lacking in any content of any map in history. But I'm not here to say that at the end of the life cycle that now it's good, because it's not. And neither is Terra Maledicta, a map that did nothing but change the hub area and add only one new objective. No, the objective-based maps in Vanguard are still bottom-tier trash. I'm here to talk about the other half of the game, the actual maps, the round-based, if you prefer, Shinonuma Reborn and the Archon. Now, Vanguard Zombies is a game of reusing assets, probably the most of any zombies mode apart from Outbreak. But all of the content here was made for zombies, as apart from Outbreak, which was a cancelled Battle Royale map. Shinonuma Reborn is obviously a remake of the classic Swamp of Death, which I'm sure if any of you have been playing the mode for a while, I don't need to go much into that map. Though I will say, based on the additions of Pack-a-Punch and an Easter egg, it is the best version of that map. I'm here actually to discuss the more fascinating case that is the Archon. I'm sure almost everyone watching knows the big thing this map is known for. That being the entirety of Terra Maledicta with just a green tint to it. Yes, they just made the world green.
Press F when zoomed in to make the world green. True.
But is that really it? Is that all this map is? Some like to not even call it a map due to the layout already existing in the game, but this is where I want to highlight what I find so interesting about this map. The recontextualizing and reusing of a layout to better suit a different game mode. That's right. I'm here to tell you why the Archon is actually a good map and a fun experience. First, let's begin with discussing the unique mechanics of the mode so that we can see how the Archon changes it. In the objective-based maps, the player has a hub area in which they start in, which as more objectives are done, opens up more and more. All of the perks and Pack-a-Punch are here, in addition the crafting bench, which has been combined with the armor station from Cold War into one, streamlining the system. The hub area for Duranfong is relatively small in comparison to other maps. This is done so when the player finishes an objective, they can quickly return and acquire whatever they need from the hub relatively fast. Being that everything is so close together and only separated by barriers at the beginning of the match, it gives the player the choice in which perks they want to prioritize first. Jug and Deadshot, Quick Revive and Speed Cola, or Stamina Up. The perk system in Vanguard shares elements from Cold War in that all the perks have tiers. Every objective completed gives the player a chunk of points that can be used over time to max out whichever perks they want. Cold War also had this system, but the issue is that it was done with crystals earned at the end of matches, which once they were used to upgrade the perks, they were permanently upgraded, which led to Cold War being a very easy and boring game because once the player got all the perks, as there was no limit, the game was just too easy. With how Vanguard handles its perk tiers in each individual match, there is actual gameplay progression here, and a difficulty curve until the player gets all the perks maxed out. But the perks aren't the only system that has progression. There's another system this game added, a third type of currency the player has to choose wisely in what they want to spend it on. The hearts. There are three types of currency in Vanguard Zombies: points, salvage, and hearts. Points are spent on guns, perks, and pack. Salvage is spent on armor, grenades, and kill streaks. Hearts are the new currency, and they have two very unique things that can be bought with them: your Specialist and the Altar of Covenants. The Specialist wands from Cold War return in this game, and like in previous, they have upgradable tiers. Much like the perks, once they're fully upgraded, they become quite powerful. Here in Vanguard, however, they start off on the lowest tier and have 4 levels to upgrade, the final tier being on par with the maxed out Cold War wands. The hearts are used to upgrade the Specialist ability through the book. After each objective is completed, the player earns 1 heart. But, as I'm sure you've realized, after 5 objectives, the player would have enough to already max out their ability, so that doesn't seem very deep. This is where the secondary thing the player can spend hearts on comes into play: the Altar of Covenants. The Altar of Covenants is one of the most interesting additions to the Zombies game mode, and so few have ever mentioned it. What it does is it gives the player additional gameplay modifiers. These have such a wide range and cover so many different elements the player could use. There's the ability to do more damage when stationary or moving, one that allows the player to constantly regenerate ammo from the reserve, never needing to reload guns like LMGs, a covenant that gives more melee damage and regenerates health per kill, and even one that does constant percentage damage to all nearby zombies. There are so many of these that suit so many different playstyles. The most notable of these is that all of the classic double pack abilities are now covenants, such as Deadwire, Cryofreeze, and Brain Rot. The idea of taking these once double pack abilities tied to one single weapon and making them inherent abilities for the player allows them to also be upgradable. Fascinatingly, some classic perks also return as covenants, the most important being PhD, now called Explosives Expert. With this covenant fully upgraded, the player not only deals more explosive damage, but takes no explosive damage. The way the covenants can be upgraded is by progressing through the worlds in the objective maps. Every new objective beaten, the 3 covenants offered randomize, and when you already have a lower tier version of a covenant, it gives a higher chance of you'll seeing the upgraded one. This is the big choice the player has when it comes to the hearts. Do you want to upgrade your Specialist ability all the way ASAP, or do you want to acquire some covenants? This gives a major amount of depth and variety to the game now that the double pack abilities and some old perks are in this system. All of this progression for the perks, as well as Specialists and Covenants, works decently enough on Duranfong, mainly because of the small nature of the map. But not on Terra Maledicta. You see, Duranfong may not be everyone's cup of tea, and it's clear to see why. But those who do enjoy playing it, even they don't like Terra Maledicta. The reasoning for this is both the nature of the objective mode and Terra's layout. Duranfong has a small hub area with all the important items within 4 seconds of each other. Terra Maledicta's hub area isn't like that at all. It's unnecessarily big. The perks are all scattered on far corners of the map, taking the player upwards of 30 seconds to a minute if they want to go around and buy them all. This goes against the very nature of the mode they've created. The idea of having a decent sized hub area the player can quickly return to and get what they need before going back into the next objective. Terra Maledicta doesn't add anything by having a large layout. The player just wastes time running around, especially when all of the objectives in this map are on Duran Fong. There was nothing unique here. No reason to play this map when it contains no new content besides a different hub area. A hub area the player doesn't even spend any time doing anything significant in because this is an objective mode. All of these reasons are why I ranked it so low in my zombie ranking video. This map has nothing added you can't get elsewhere, and the layout doesn't even service the mode you play it on. But this is where the Archon changes that. The Archon is the round-based version of Terra Maledicta, but even saying that, the simple switch really has recontextualized the entire thing. You see, the layout has one simple change and mechanical differences that make the layout work. Firstly, the spawn now has an additional wall on it that the Pack-a-Punch now sits against. This wall directs the flow of the gameplay around and back into spawn, as there are now two distinct sides of the map. There are two far corners of the map, one by Jug and one by Stamina. Both of these areas contain parts of the Pack-a-Punch, and they're both needed to start the lockdown. To get back Pack-a-Punch, the player has to place both of the pieces back in spawn and kill the zombies that spawn in from the lockdown sequence by the pack. The map has two types of barriers, one that can be bought with points, and the other that requires the lockdown to be completed. These barriers act as a limiting system of the map, paths the player would need to cut through, or perks such as Deadshot and Speed Cola are locked behind these. As there's not a traditional power switch in this game, it acts identical to the Sentinel artifact in Black Ops 4. With pack acquired and the whole map opened, we see how the layout of this map services better to the traditional rounds than objectives. The Book and the Altar of Covenants return in both round-based maps, but the means of acquiring the hearts has changed. Now, a new heart is acquired every 3 rounds, but like in the objective mode, the Covenants rotate every individual round. This is where Vanguard's mechanics really shine, as it gives even more decision making to the player. They can spend the hearts to upgrade their specialist right as they get them, get a Covenant, or save up the hearts and return to the altar each round to see what new ability they can acquire. This system is so fun and has a surprising amount of depth to it, acting as almost a secondary mystery box, but for gameplay modifiers instead of guns. And this system, along with the tiers for the perks, does something few other modes do. Encourages the player to get to higher and higher rounds, to upgrade their Covenants as well as specialist and perks. The longer you play the mode, the more powerful the Covenants offered become, leading to the player wanting to stay in the match longer to acquire the best abilities. And the way the altar works with the double pack abilities, the player can do something no other game allows them. You can have Dead Wire, Cryo Freeze, and Brain Rot all at the same time. Let me tell you, when all of these are fully upgraded, the amount of carnage you can perform, stunning, freezing, and turning entire hordes of zombies, it is so much fun. Mechanically, the Archon works great, but layout-wise, it serves so much better in a round setting than an objective one, because all of the gameplay is on the map, not some place you teleport to. And due to the altar, book, and all the perks being on all the parts of the map, it encourages the player to move around constantly and keep the flow of the game from stagnating. In addition, both far ends of the map have teleporters that bring you right back to spawn. The way they work gives the player almost 8 seconds of breathing room, allowing them to catch their breath or even do something while you're in an online match and can't pause. The Archon did what I suspected from the beginning. Took an objective-based map and made it into a round-based one. And with such a simple yet precise gameplay changes, it works. It works so well. Not to mention the side quests added to the map, giving the player not only things to do, but goodies to acquire, and an Easter egg that incorporates the objectives into the Easter egg, which is something I've been saying from the beginning. I never want zombies to stagnate, or not evolve, or not try something new. But that doesn't mean throw out the mechanics that make the mode what it is. Take these new ideas and incorporate them into the existing gameplay. And the Archon does that so perfectly and subtly. Is the Archon the best thing since sliced bread? No, of course not. But when I see what it is, what was used to make it, it just goes to show the mechanics of the mode determine whether the layout will be serviceable to it. This is the reason why I can't stand Outbreak. Its mission structure is completely ruined by this giant empty world I spend so much time running around in doing nothing. The same with Modern Warfare Zombies, but not to that extreme of a degree. Something that bothers me is the weak nature of both the perks and specialists in Modern Warfare 3. Why do they feel so gimped? Quick Revive makes your health regen the same speed that Tier 1 does in Vanguard, and comparing stamina up in both games is a joke. The tiers for perks and the abilities gave Vanguard a surprising level of depth, and it's so odd to me that this has been completely lost in MWZ. The Archon has something that we haven't had much of in a while. A simple, casual yet rewarding gameplay loop that actually feels like zombies. Not some kind of pretender in name only. With a simple to learn yet fun Easter egg and a good boss fight, which certainly we haven't seen much of lately, I think it's a map that with time should be reevaluated for the simple yet intricate system that it has.